Get the cans on. Get the cans on. Get the cans. Get the cans, man. Get the cans, man.
Get the cans. Watch out, Winston. Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Did it.
Did it.
What's up? What's happening?
And welcome back to an all-new episode of DMT Reviews with me, Sam Butler, joined as always with Jack Anderson.
Hola.
Hello.
How you doing?
You know, decent, ambivalent, really.
Yeah.
Today's movie we're reviewing is Reminiscence.
Yeah. I got some thoughts. Yeah.
You've got some reminiscence about Reminiscence.
Yeah.
Your opinions that you're about to reminisce about for Reminiscence.
I mean, reminisce is a strong word. Yeah, it implies some sort of good feeling.
Some sort of fondness looking back on the time that you spent with Reminiscence.
And it's love Hugh Jackman, but Rutrow, Scoob.
Yeah, I was, okay, right out of the gate, first observations, felt longer than it was.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, it was under 2 hours, and I was just like, I paused at each like third of the movie, being like, really?
Yeah, I had to conquer it in multiple viewings. Yeah, that's the only way it can be done. Now listen, I think what happened, just get right into it.
Welcome to the dance floor, boys.
Is that Lisa Joy, right?
Okay, I was going to say, let's start talking about Lisa Joy right out the gate.
Yeah.
Married to Jonathan Nolan, co-creator of Westworld.
Yep. That's, again, I think she had an idea that was like, what if there's this machine where you can go back, look at memories and stuff like that. And then Jonathan Nolan's like, oh my God, you should write that. And she was like, oh, well, I haven't really thought it all the way through. I don't really know exactly
I don't
what it
even
is.
think it's that, Jack. I think it's more that everyone thinks of Jonathan Nolan because, his half brother is Christopher Nolan,
right.
And then he did Westworld. And it's like, well, she did too. I thought, my
That's
feeling
true.
was like, she wants to be a filmmaker. She, has the cred.
She is,
I mean, Jonathan did produce this. She's directed only one episode of Westworld before this.
Right.
But has been writing, head writer that whole time. And I think it was really her just being like approached by Warner Brothers and HBO, one of the two, just being like, hey, do you have a movie idea? And she's like, you know what, I do. And then she just was like, you know what, I don't want to do it with any of Jonathan's help. I just want this one to be mine, all
1,000%.
mine. And I felt like with that attitude, I mean, and I'm completely projecting. I have no clue.
Yeah, we're just totally speculating here.
This is all speculation, but I think that for her first, run at a high concept sci-fi thing solo, not bad.
No,
it wasn't bad.
It's not a bad movie. It's here's where I got a little confused with it. There's just so much happening in this movie that
so much happening, but not much at all.
It has no relation to anything that we really see. So, for example, the main hook of the movie is that there's a machine. Well, I guess you got to preface it by saying the world is now underwater, or at least Miami.
There's so much world building.
Yeah,
that
there's
they
a
had
lot of
to
world
do
building that this again
super
didn't,
quickly.
It didn't matter at all.
Exactly.
Either. This could have been normal future world.
There was
a machine.
Generic cyberpunk world.
Why is Miami flooded? There's no reason other than to get Hugh Jackman's boots wet.
That and it's so hot during the days that everyone's nocturnal now.
Right, yeah.
So they sleep during the day, work at night, and I'm like, oh, that wouldn't be a bad way to combat or to survive in a world too hot. But then there was this war that went on, a class war, and then he was a part of it, and he was interrogating people, but with their memories and shit like that. And all of that backstory really served was to get him out of hairy situations, because people will be like, wait, you served?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well then you're cool.
Here's a big thing about this movie is that things, like you said, just kind of happened, right? He could mention he was a soldier and get through any door. People would just show up and progress the story forward, and you understood loosely enough why it was happening and whatnot. It wasn't out of nowhere, but it was Hugh Jackman would go somewhere to go to somewhere else. You know what I mean? He would.
Gotta have the squeaky ball today, do you?
Yeah, that's He's an attention guy.
Wilson.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, no, like I don't know, like his interrogation of like other people and stuff like that was just that's what it was. He was interrogating somebody who directly related to the girlfriend, right? Like there was so much overlapping of these variables.
There were, and also, okay, it was lost on me for a good chunk of the movie that he was a private investigator himself. Okay, Winston, that's enough.
It's taking my train of thought.
Sorry, bud. That's just the way it's gonna go. Because usually when we're playing with the ball, he's not squeaking it, but then it comes down to him doing it, rolling in the corner. He's squeaking the shit out of it.
Can't have it. Gotta go.
So yeah, but so it didn't crack for me until a good chunk in that he was a private investigator. I thought they were using his Reminiscence expertise, like they were contracting him to, do that. It's like, no, this guy's a detective himself.
Yeah. Yeah, while also running this side business.
While running this side business of people going to the movies in their head.
Yeah, exactly.
In their head movies.
I don't know. Again, it was like, I understood everything that was going on in there, and like he said, it's not bad. It's not like
it comes down to something that we keep saying here on the DMT Reviews podcast. Execution. I will say there were parts of it that were just like flawlessly executed. All the underwater sequences were really cool. Like especially that one where he sinks Cliff Curtis down into the water, gets stuck to the piano, and then dives down. And that was cool. I will say this though: for every movie that does underwater sequences, how do the actors not like hate the director?
Yeah, right.
Like, because one, you have to be underwater holding your breath. I mean, of course they'll keep it warm for you. But two, for me, it's the holding your eyes open underwater. I can't do that in regular water. It's either too cold, too warm, or got shit in it, like chlorine or salt, But in movies, all the time, without fail, people are open eyes underwater swimming around like they're amphibious beings.
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
Does it?
The eyes would sting too much. You would at least be like blurred. You know what I mean? Eyes are not supposed to, hit water.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to happen.
So what I'm getting at is I guarantee you that like the directors don't even really understand that.
No.
They're just like, this looks good. Hugh Jackman and Cliff Curtis are underwater, eyes open, in just getting painfully hit by them struggling underwater.
Yeah.
And it's just like, from their point of view, it's just blurs, blurs and shapes. They can't see anything.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, they're not about what I'm here seeing. They're about what my face looks like underwater.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting. There's beautiful aspects of the movie for sure. Yeah, I again the acting. Well, let's talk about. This didn't need to be a love story.
It didn't need to be a love story.
It just really did not need to be. It was a really cool idea, but it was like a love story with a heist, with the climate change post-apocalyptic world and this war in the background.
A class warfare kind of thing going on. Under,
that was
the
happening.
barons.
Yeah. Well, and the twist at the end was like very unsatisfying.
Oh yeah, super unsatisfying.
I got so confused several times towards the end there. I was like, wait, the clock shop is real. Wait, what?
Yeah, and I think it's comes to this genre of sci-fi thrillers.
Yeah.
Where it's like Inception, Tenet, Memento. Well, Memento wasn't sci-fi, but the way that movie was told was a total like mind fuck of storytelling. But it's like when you add high concept to like noir,
right,
it really can get super sloppy super quick.
While trying to get a message in there as well. Yeah.
Like I haven't seen Minority Report. I've just heard that it is tragically exposition dump after exposition dump to just get across to the audience all the various intricacies of the rules of the world.
Right.
And it's like, man, you're walking a wire when it's like...
Yeah, the movie exists to explain itself.
Yeah, it's trying to be like The Fugitive, where Harrison Ford gets framed for murdering his wife, but he didn't. And, Tommy Lee Jones is hot on his tail, but he's trying to prove his innocence and everything like that. That's Minority Report, where it's like, you're guilty of a crime that you haven't committed yet, Tom Cruise. You got to run. This one, it's like a whodunit inside of a love story, inside of high concept sci-fi inside of, I don't know.
Yeah, I did not care for the whole cliche ending where, like, you know, she was set up to be with him to get the stuff, and then she ended up falling in love with him, and like she gets pulled away by the bad guy. It was just like, it was so, I called it a checklist movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it was just
that's a good way to put it. It's like, oh, well, you gotta have the, you know, the shoe drop, the twist goes, oh, wait, she wasn't who she said she was this whole time. Oh, wait, she wasn't even that person.
Yeah. This movie would have crushed in 2005. Like, it would have.
It would have been this and Paycheck starring Ben Affleck.
That's right, exactly.
It would have been
just
huge. Ruled the box office.
Going for the Oscars, battling each other. It would have made Inception look foolish. You know what I mean? But
yeah, it would have made it look derivative.
Yeah,
Instead of this being like derivative of Inception. Instead of dreams with memories.
Exactly. And I didn't like the climax being a massive exposition dump of the whole thing, and that she's dead, and then we're experiencing this through memory. But it wasn't that I disliked that as an idea. I didn't like how long it played out. Like, it was that was the end of the movie. That was like the closer.
Yeah, the climax was him watching Cliff Curtis's memories.
Yes.
Also, let's
Exactly.
like it wasn't even them fighting. It was him just watching movies.
Yep.
Like, that was it. That was really it. And let me get started on Cliff Curtis's role in this movie. He was kind of like Bane until it was revealed that he wasn't like Bane.
Yes.
So it's like he was in love with Rebecca, whatever Face's fucking character. Who's, by the way, I'll just say, Rebecca Ferguson, that actress, I am not a fan of. And I hate to say it, it's 100% because of her face. It is. It's just some about that face shape that I do not like. Annabelle Wallis from The Mummy also has that. Where it's just it's a weird, it gives me like cat vibes.
Cat vibes.
Cat vibes in a person's face.
You don't like cat women.
Nah.
You wouldn't have liked ancient Egypt. Lots of cat
Well,
goddesses.
yeah, but it's not even that. I'm just saying, like, it's sort of that.
And
but
you
then
don't like cats.
The angles of the face make it so clear that their eyes are pointed in a different direction from one another. It's something weird, and I hate to say it, but hey, I have a fucking weird face. It's like my face is crooked on my skull, so we are all uggos in our own right. but her performance in so it seemed like Lisa Joy was flexing her Westworld connections with Tandy Newton and the girl who played Elsa.
That's exactly what I thought.
and then also she was a big fan of The Greatest Showman and hired Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson from it.
Yeah.
And the second she grabbed a fucking microphone in this movie, Jack, my head hit the back of the bar of the futon. I was like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Like,
my head was shaken throughout this movie. I was groaning and just.
and I said that sarcastically when the movie started. I'm like, watch her sing.
Yeah, she's a big singer, big time singer.
It's like, oh, okay.
What'd you think of the one like weird little tangent arc where he goes to fight the gangster in New Orleans?
Oh, the St. John guy that had nothing to do with anything.
It didn't matter. I needed to find out who she was, or was she the person I knew? I don't know. I just want to see Hugh Jackman get duped. You know what I mean? Like me. I want to see him get, a little strung out, and then he gets no, she loved
I will
him.
say, I really wish I took two, like, if HBO would let me take screenshots on my iPad, because part of it I was watching on my iPad while I was cooking lunch. It was one where he's pointing the gun at Cliff Curtis. He's just...
Yeah. There is also
like the most aggressive frown, and then his face as he's chasing her hologram memory when she jumps off the edge and dies. I was just like, oh man, you. Oh man, you. That's acting.
I think all the action in this movie was for the trailers. I think all of it was directly so that they could advertise it to get people.
Because
to
it
come
still
see the
wasn't
movie.
an action movie.
Yeah, because like the action that they had, it was like one sequence between
The
Hugh and
action
Cliff.
they had was Hugh Jackman getting grabbed and pulled out of a room and pulled into another room. That's really what it was.
Just running around.
Yeah,
with his pistol.
he somehow manages to get into a place he's not supposed to be, get a lot of information while he's there, then gets dragged out.
I did appreciate, though, they got a Wolverine scream in there.
They did. Oh my god. Oh my god.
What'd you think of Cliff getting sunk into the thing with the piano?
Like,
how did he get his arm stuck? How did it happen?
okay, so like I guess he threw a punch because it was edited super like hectically. But he threw a punch, he grabbed his arm and threw it into the back of the piano, and it got tangled in all the piano strings, the piano wires. And he slammed the cover down on his arm. But because they were in some sunken building, there's an entire floor below them. And he just sort of lightly sinks to the bottom.
Yep. And then Hugh is underwater for a long time.
They both were.
Yeah. Like, I in extreme situations, people can survive anything, but I don't know about all that.
How'd you like the right after that when Hugh gets the motivation to swim back to the top?
Course.
He gets out of the water, up behind Cliff Curtis, puts a hand on his shoulder and stabs him in the neck silently. Not a sound.
Not any water splishing back into the...
He was quieter than Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now coming out of the mud. And he just rises
with
and
that angry Hugh Jackman face that you just know is only acting.
It's the turtle face, dude.
Yeah, the turtle face. And then he does that shot for the trailer where like, I think a movie about this memory machine would have been interesting, or a movie about a heist with some romance would have been interesting.
Jack,
war with climate change might have been interesting, but to have them all exist in the same reality, and I have to fucking keep track of all this, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it gets confusing, because then you're like, well, I'm like waiting for something to happen here or something like that, or like I'm paying attention to something about how the city is sunk, right? Like I'm trying to figure out, why is this happening, why is this important to the story, and it just never comes to fruition. And then it distracts you from the things you're supposed to be paying attention to, but the things you're supposed to be paying attention to are just like happening on screen. There's no like real character development. Hugh Jackman's mostly just moping the whole time.
Oh yeah, no.
Thandie Newton's just like...
That was what I texted you this morning. I'm like, yeah, I gotta finish Reminiscence before you get here. And then you just go, enjoy that ride. I'm like, so far I'm not, because it's hard to root for Hugh when he's being this bad.
Yeah, it's just bitchy, really.
He's in love with this woman who's faking it the whole time until she's not. And then he's just so obsessed with it that I'm just like, oh, come on, man. Dude.
You gotta calm down here, Hugh.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
You would think, but
no, he's Huey J's.
He's Huey J's, dude.
And the thing, okay, you want to watch a great movie about a memory machine? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Want to watch a terrible movie about a memory machine? Watch Assassin's Creed.
Sure.
Want to watch the right down the middle? Watch Reminiscence.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Because I'm trying to think of anything else that did like a memory sort of detective work kind of thing. And Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind wasn't that, but it is very much exploring the meaningfulness of memory.
Right.
And but dude, this one just got me on so many levels where I was just like, hey,
yeah,
you know,
I guess we'll see.
You're taking a swing, man.
Again,
taking a big swing.
Well, and like, you know, the reason we're watching, you know, these movies in this order and stuff is to like watch Shawshank and see a classic and watch this, and like, what are we doing now, right? And I
think the best way to frame it, week one, just Marvel it up, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You hit with Marvel. You hit them with the Marvel. We don't want to turn this into a Marvel podcast because we're more than that,
right?
And week two, we hit them with the top 250, right? Yeah. So then we get one of these, which is, I think, something that we would have otherwise never watched.
Yeah, no, not a chance.
If left to our own devices. I think that's a one that a list that we got to compile. It's something that it's like we've seen like a million times pass by on Netflix, and it's like, I would never watch this. watch it and just see what happens.
Right. Because, yeah, and there's a reason we don't want to watch it, because it is like a trend that we see where it's like, you know, things like this movie, I keep going back to Inception because that was the kind of vibe that I was picking up from it, right?
Well,
Like,
I got that too, especially because of that. You know what it reminded me of? The Prestige.
yeah, very
That
much so.
switch that he kept pulling to turn on the
Yeah.
machine looked exactly like the switch that fucking Andy Serkis was throwing when him and David Bowie, all three of them, are
that's right.
doing their little experiments in Colorado Springs.
Which, again, like those movies that came out, and this is not an unoriginal idea. Again, like, but it's a like. They forced it to become something that it didn't need to be, right? Like there was so much, and again, I'm totally speculating here, but I think there was so much priority of, we got to get this out, we got to make this happen, we got to get this movie, we got to see how it does, we got to release it in September because it'll make this amount of money, yada yada yada, a post-summer movie, and no attention to like, is this something that I would really, really, really want to watch, or like is like the bigger audience gonna remember this for certain reasons, or are they just going to remember it because of what they saw in the trailers? You know what I mean? And this is the thing that we talk about with trailers too, where it spells out the whole movie, because people won't go see it if they know it's going to stink. Like if in the long run, it's not going to be something that they know is going to be good or anything like that. But when you do that, then going to see a movie isn't an event anymore. It's just catching up with whatever the latest thing is, It's
seeing the longer version of the trailer, the extended edition of the trailer.
It's exactly what it is, yeah. And it gets a little frustrating because you see Shawshank that like takes you on emotional roller coasters, right? And like, it makes you feel a lot of different ways, and it paints a story of a bunch of different characters, but really two characters who, do something that, like we said, we knew he's going to escape and all that different stuff, but it's the process of getting there and who they become and what they do. And, this, like the Stephen King just kind of drawing everything out and telling a lifetime in a story, right? Versus here is, the feelings I got was like, who did it, right? Who's going to do it? But like, I'm watching The White Lotus, which is kind of a, murder mystery type of deal, right?
Isn't that the one from the dude, writer of School of Rock, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And again, it's like, murder mystery.
Ned Schneebly.
Yeah,
That guy, yeah.
Steve Zahn's in it. Yeah, and Jake Lacey and Alexander Daddario. And it's good. It's been fun. Only 7 episodes.
For Alexy Dads, I'm down.
Alexy Dads is the best.
Alexy Dads, baby.
Those eyes.
The double dads, if you know what I mean.
Indeed. And it's a show at a resort, so, they use that. They use that to their advantage. But... kind of that same, like, whodunit kind of mystery, but obviously, like, this would have been a really cool show. Like, can you imagine this is like a 7-episode show? You know what I mean? Where you could really draw it out and understand these different aspects of the world. And
that's
Hugh
exactly
Jackman's
how
character.
I felt about that, where it's like, if you're going to go world building, go for a TV show. Like, gone are the times where you can world build efficiently without having a 3-hour-long movie.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And the movies that did that really well, I would even say Inception did a really good job of world building. However, the thing is that, like we mentioned before, it was a lot of exposition. The only reason Ellen Page's character's in that movie is to be us, the audience.
Elliot Page.
Elliot Page. Yes, you're correct.
Got you.
But no, that was the only reason that character was in that movie, was to be the audience, so that, Leo and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy could just hurl exposition right at her head. So
exactly.
It could seem like it's, organic
just
in the
teaching
story.
her the ways.
Yeah,
of course.
Because she's super necessary, because the map drawer at the beginning of the movie got killed.
Yeah, and we need her.
Yeah, but then there's...
And it works. But again, with that, what
there's
works
Tenet.
about that...
Tenet's world building, I felt like, was shittier.
I agree. Tenet kind of left me with similar feelings to this movie. This movie, though, a little bit more, because it was just like, at least Tenet, it just like stayed focused on the thing, right? On what was going on. This, I just like, again, it was just the most cheesy romance.
Yeah, there wasn't even like a MacGuffin, and then the reveal.
Like there was
the...
nothing interesting to their relationship. Like there was nothing that made me go like, oh, I really am rooting for these two. It was like the most,
and it's because of her face.
It's a big part of it.
She doesn't really have eyes that convey a lot of emotion.
Right. Like I just didn't believe it. You know, I just believed that this was like a girl that
I
Hugh Jackman wanted. Yeah.
I believed his performance.
Big
like,
time.
When he starts, fucking up the machine, getting in there, and then he steps into the silhouette of Cliff Curtis because he knows that she's talking to him.
Yeah.
Like that was great acting on his part. Her part, I was like,
and again, it's hard in a shorter movie, right? To like, again, build this crazy world, develop a deep relationship, which I think they did an interesting thing with the memories and him waking up and what was the timing or like what was the timeline of the movie.
Right.
But like, of course they were going to do that.
There was less work on her part into getting him to totally fall head over heels than it would take for a real person. That and know a song.
Yeah, I know a song. That's right.
The song, dude. Like, of course it has to be a song.
Yeah.
That's the key to this whole thing.
Let's be honest here. Hugh Jackman is just a dog in this movie. He's just following his owner.
Dude, what if he was the one to push for her singing 2 musical numbers? He was just like,
come on.
Hey, Lisa, she's got a great voice. She sang the same song twice in Greatest Show.
Come on, she can do it.
She could do it.
Give it a chance.
And I mean, we shared a smooch in that movie. We'll share a pretty graphic sex scene, gratuitous sex scene for a PG-13 movie that ultimately did not have any, like, that. Okay, I have an actual hang-up with sex scenes in movies because unless it serves the plot like it's an adultery or, some sort of infidelity or breaking through the barrier of a romance, then it doesn't serve the story at all. That's why you don't see sex scenes in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the only sex scenes that you see in Marvel are with fucking RDJ and Iron Man 1 because that's proving that he's a fucking pussy hound.
Yeah, playboy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But but it doesn't serve the story otherwise. So it's like people getting upset about no LGBTQ characters and stuff is like, unless their, orientation serves the story, get it out of here. It's wasting time. Mm-hmm. I'm more interested in the characters themselves and what they're going through than what their commentary is to the world. And then when it comes to sex scenes, I'm just like, man, if you're just going to throw it in there, just like throw up a link for someone to like QR code to go to Pornhub because that's what you're trying to, elicit from the audience is some sort of a sensual, horny reaction.
Right.
When I'm just sort of sitting there like, come on, just get back to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny because on the opposite end, I don't want to watch any story of any pornos ever.
Again, two very different.
You get
things.
the least amount of information, then you get to the part that you're like, all right, that's good, and then you're out of there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it's just a checklist. It's what do we think? The audience is going to want them to fuck for sure. So like, we got to do that. Get that in there. Obviously, a natural way to get it going. But again, he completely gives in to her at that moment. Like after he sleeps with her, he's head over heels. It's amazing.
There's nothing about his character's journey that would explain it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like he suffered an extreme loss of a spouse or a loved one or extreme heartbreak. And like he struggled to open himself back up. And then this character comes in and she has this song that only his grandpa, it was special to him only. So he gets curious and then he starts opening up. And like if him and Tandy Newton had a relationship.
Yeah.
And it was just complicated. And like, even if it ended up where they were like him at the very end, when he's talking to her, he's like, I realize now more what I should have been paying attention to. Like that right there. I was like, that's the signal right there to just go ahead and make out because like their characters actually have a relationship built into it. Like they were both using each other as dependency, like coping mechanisms, basically.
Yeah.
However, his thing, we don't know what his thing that he's coping from is.
He's just he's
PTSD, except he's not really experiencing PTSD.
Yeah, he's just mostly upset that she ghosted him. That's really his main problem.
That's really the entire thing.
She
left me on red.
Yeah, literally.
She would never do that. She blocked all my profiles. None of her friends friends will even talk to me.
Yeah, because it's not like she like got taken or like she just literally left, didn't tell him, right? And he's like, people don't just vanish.
No. Put me back in. Put me back in. Put me back in. No.
What'd you think when Cliff popped out of the shadows? He was all bald and shit.
Oh, dude, I was just like, what did I miss? Okay, well, let me throw this at you about Cliff Curtis's performance as this character. What was it, Booth or whatever the shit?
Yeah.
Let me throw this at you. One, the first thing that I remember really seeing Cliff Curtis in was Hobbs and Shaw.
Uh-huh.
And then after that was Kong versus Godzilla, you know? But him and Hobbs and Shaw, he is playing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's brother, Samoan brother.
Yeah.
In this one, he's playing like paisano spaghetti eating fuck Brooklyn ass like Italian greasy asshole, and I'm just like, what are you, dude?
Yeah.
Like, who are you trying to be?
Yes.
Like, I actually, you know, and I hate whenever this question comes up, but it comes up in everyone's minds of like, what's your ethnicity? Let's find out what Cliff Curtis's ethnicity is.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because, well, and here's the thing too. He was the second, or he was the replacement in Hobbs and Shaw for Jason Momoa, which is like, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if Jason Momoa showed up in that movie,
jeez.
like they didn't even have him in the commercials or anything, and he showed up and he was The Rock's brother, everyone would have been like, give them all of the Oscars. Give them 12. Shatter the Return of the King Titanic record. But no, we got Cliff Curtis, and that movie fell way by the wayside. Oh, man.
Jason Momoa.
Oh, yeah, he was in Whale Rider, so I think he is Samoan. Oh, you know what? Maori.
Nice.
New Zealand.
Damn. There we go.
And he does. Now I'm looking at his headshot on IMDb. Looks an awful lot like Taika. So it checks out.
Makes sense.
Islander, Pacific Islander.
Sure. But not from Brooklyn.
But definitely not this guy who's just like fucking, you know what St. John wants, right? You know, this fucking, this lady, all right?
Yeah. Why did he get burned again? I mean, it had no real bearing on the story.
No, it really didn't have any bearing on the story, other than that's the memory that
he
Hugh
used to-
imprisoned him and burned him in with. But it was like he was, you know, skimming off of the top, you
That's
know,
right.
and they're just
He's
like,
very honest about it.
yeah, he's like, yeah, aren't you guys doing it too? I'm the only one doing this? Who's not taking, this guy's an idiot. Take advantage of him. Fuck. I'm the asshole. And
they burned him alive.
They did. Oh, dude, he is going to be in all 4 of the upcoming Avatar sequels.
Oh boy.
Yep. Oh, yeah, he was in Doctor Sleep. The
You were in Dr.
Meg.
Sleep.
I was thinking of the Meg, not Godzilla versus Kong.
I think he was in Fear the Walking Dead too.
You are 100% correct.
That's
for
right.
2 seasons.
Boom.
So he died in Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, because that show's on.
Oh, dude,
fucking
he's in The
7
Last
seasons.
Airbender.
Yikes.
10,000 BC. He's
Oh,
Tick Tick.
Gosh.
Whatever
Man,
Tick Tick
That
is.
movie was
He's
disappointing.
in Live Free or Die Hard, Sunshine, The Fountain. Dude, this guy's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
Fracture.
Working.
With Ryan Gosling and Sir Anthony Hopkins. Whale Rider. Whale Rider came out in 2002? Dude, I thought that movie's from like the 90s.
Yeah.
I liked that movie. Have you ever seen it, Jack?
Mm-mm.
It's a very sweet movie about, you know, a contemporary story of love, rejection, and triumph as a young Maori girl fights to fulfill a destiny her grandfather refuses to recognize.
So Moana copied them.
In a sense, but there's not a lot of magic to it. It's just, you know, in the end, she ends up riding whales.
I see. Still got a lot of sea stuff, though. But I guess the Maori are very sea people. You know,
Well,
they do
I
live
mean,
on islands.
If you're living on islands, the sea plays a big part of your life. just in case you didn't know,
Just throwing that out
just
there.
throwing that out there. When there's more ocean than anything else in your line of sight, it might have a little bit of a role in your life, in your culture.
Oh, Sammy B, what do we do with movies like these? movies. You know what I mean?
Do
Do we rewatch them?
no,
Yeah.
because I think you and I have reached the threshold
Yeah.
or crossed the threshold where now we're gonna stop really enjoying movies.
Yeah.
And I
worries
think-
me a little bit.
Yeah, because a similar thing has happened to me with comedy, stand-up comedy, where unless they're like one of my consummate favorites, I'm not very interested. Like Tanner asked me if I watched Shane Gillis's special, and I'm like, honestly, no, because one, that whole debacle with him for Saturday Night Live, I'm like, this guy's just not bright. And then two, the little bit of stand-up that I've seen him do, I don't like his stand-up stage presence. You know, it's I don't know what it is. I can't really quite describe it, but it's like I don't like that.
Right.
And if I decide to watch it, I'm going to be fucking analyzing every fucking second of it to find the bullshit or find, oh, that's a good nugget. How can I apply that to my kind of thing? Which all artists do for everything. That's not just copying. That's like, hey, that's a good angle that I think my kind of presence can come through as well.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm not going to sit there and enjoy it. You know, like us going to go see Christina P. or Dan Cummins, I can enjoy them.
Right.
But, you know, someone like Shane Gillis, Hannah Gadsby, I will not watch Nanette. Nanette.
Come on.
Or whatever the second one she did was.
You should name your next pet the Gats.
I'll call it Cement.
Cement. There we go.
No. But there's something about that. But with movies, I think, like, the more you and I see movies like this, because it's something that they told in film school, you learn more from flawed movies than perfect ones. Like, you can go and read the screenplays for Back to the Future and Chinatown, two of the most heralded as perfect screenplays of all time. You can read those screenplays and watch the movie, but then you're just like, you know what? This has got a lot of, cracks in it. They're great movies. There's cracks in it.
Right.
But I don't know how to reconcile them. It's just, what is it? Forget about it, Jake. It's Chinatown. That's the last line of that movie. But that's what the most I kind of like. That's how you feel about that. But then you get to see something like Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, jeez.
Like, that's the movie I jump to immediately when I think of a bad movie.
That's a bad movie.
That's a bad movie that I'm
movie.
like, what can we learn from this?
Is there anything we can learn from this?
And I think the thing from that movie is, one, they didn't learn, not only did they not learn the lesson of how poorly Spider-Man 3 handled 3 villains,
That's right.
they doubled down and did it way worse. So now I feel like Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be like, we can do this. We can have more than 2 villains in a Spider-Man movie. We can do this. Those other 2 fucked it up, but we're going to see how they fucked it up and do the exact opposite.
We can only hope.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Because if we go 3 for 3 of just shit Spider-Man movies because there's too many villains, then there's no hope for doing that ever. That is actual strike 3. But I think that they have a better shot with No Way Home because they have 2 perfect examples of how to fuck it up.
Exactly. No, it's fair. It definitely. Again, what's my real deal issue with this movie? It just didn't make me feel anything. You know what I mean? It just like I watch a movie either to like be wowed and not be impressed, sure, but like to feel something, to like legitimately go like,
I think
that was really worth my time.
I think literally the only moment that really made me feel anything was when Hugh Jackman was talking to Tandy Newton at the end for the last time.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, when they were having their relationship was great. Like if it had been about them and they were like dealing with a heist with that business, right? And like that was just happening.
Yeah. Or their business was being used by some unscrupulous organization.
Yeah, that would have been great. Like that would have been fascinating. That would have been a really good movie. And
because also like
and there doesn't need to not be a romance. That's not even the problem. It's just that the romance literally existed to. Again, it was a huge part of the movie. It was the entire movie, but that is not what is interesting about that technology. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That's
Like, yeah.
side story.
A romance can
much
be a
more interesting
great
idea.
driving force for a film, but when the film is not about the romance,
Right.
and you just jam it in there, it's like, now this is what the story is.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, well, I'm interested in the stuff,
Or when like
the sci-fi stuff.
here's another thing I'm watching for is just unbelievable coincidence, right? Like just
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that like his love
So the
life
movie could happen.
Exactly. Like, and I know that like they sent her to go get the thing. So like of course his life was going to intertwine with this, but like the number of coincidences that just were happening in his life that helped him solve this was unbearable for me.
yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Just convenience after convenience, falling ass backwards through this movie.
It just caused you like, was she the one I knew?
Yeah.
Or the one that blah, blah, blah. I just
like
oh.
there's a difference with like convenience and coincidence. Forrest Gump is all coincidences, but they're never convenient. He falls ass backwards through that movie and comes out on top, but Forrest himself, it's all lost on him.
That's right.
It's
He is
totally lost
and that's
on
why
him.
the movie's great.
Yeah.
That's why it works.
This
Yeah.
one, the only way that you can make this to the end and be as long as a feature-length film is if you force the convenience.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
They don't have time to. They set up so many complicated questions that they don't have time to answer them.
Yeah.
but they have to get to the end.
Because when it got to that end and he goes and talks to Tandy Newton and she's working at that facility, which, I mean, I had, just as we were talking.
And also, did he turn himself over because he left Cliff in the thing? Is that okay? So
Yeah, because when she was there, he said that.
that guy stole from him. I mean,
He murdered
he
people.
murdered a lot of people. He was alive when.
But he goes and tells her that he burned him on purpose, and she's like, "Wow, that's a crazy joke to be saying something like that when burning someone on purpose is worse than murder." You know, like that's the charge. This
Right,
is worse than
right.
murder, and it's like, okay, but then what do you do to the murderer?
Yes, exactly.
Because I feel like that actually is a pretty good punishment for the murderers.
Yeah, again, like it just didn't help him going to prison at the end. I didn't feel well. He doesn't go to prison.
No, okay, here's what he
What
did,
happens?
Jay.
Yeah.
So it just dawned on me thinking about that facility at the end. She's talking to like a family and putting someone in a cradle. So like this technology is all over, and that was the whole thing. When he fired her, he gave her a referral to go work there.
Right.
And so it's like, I think that facility, the entire purpose of it is for people who are dying to put them on those memories and just have them reliving those memories while their body fades away.
Right.
And then bury them under the lake, I guess. Because that was the thing. The shot like pulls
Oh,
up and there's all
yeah.
those cradles under the water. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
that's strange.
Ah.
But that's actually kind of cool. So by him being able to unravel this whole conspiracy theory that this son did to get this inheritance because his half so convoluted.
Yeah, too much.
So
Way
convoluted.
too much. It's dense.
Especially when that kid had no
those scenes.
none. He had one scene where his dad's like, "Did you find her yet?" And that's it.
Yep. And he was behind the whole thing.
Yeah, and he was behind the whole thing. So that it's like when that reveal happens, Hugh Jackman just leaves the gun on the table, and he's just like, "What are you gonna do about it?" Like you feel nothing. You feel nothing. And then I was like, "Whoa!" Because he had the gun like put up to his head, and he's looking at his mom, who's living that memory over and over again. I'm like, "Wow! If they have him blow his
That'd be
fucking
crazy.
head off in front of his crazy mom right now," and then he didn't, I'm like, "Oh, you almost had balls. You almost had balls in this movie."
That's how I felt about it, just the whole time. He almost had balls.
Like the emptiness would have been replaced by the ballsiness. Just be like, whoa, and Hugh Jackman's just gonna walk out and leave that on the table? Wow.
Also, poor Hugh Jackman. His memory just gets fiddled with in all his movies.
Yeah.
In X-Men,
All the
in
X-Men.
Van Helsing,
Yeah.
and this. And the thing about Van Helsing is they don't answer any of the questions that they set up
You
about
don't
his
know
memory.
anything about
There's
Van
just-
Helsing as a character himself. Another movie with a forced relationship.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big one. That's, yeah.
But that was done like old Hollywood damsel
Right.
in distress,
Like I said-
but during the time where they're trying to show butt kicking women, but not 2 butt kicking.
Like I said, dude, this movie would have slapped in 2005.
It would have just blown everyone's
just
minds.
killed. I just destroyed the box office. Revolutionized film. Unfortunately, we're in 2021, and you should have made a show.
Solid 16 years too late.
Yeah, should have made a show.
It would have been even if it was like a limited series, 4 episodes, 5 episodes, that would have been cool.
I would have watched it.
Yeah. But like, because these people, they want to stay in the cinema when there's so much to explore with the world they're trying to introduce, that it's like, well, to maintain people's attention span and get the exposition out, and in that get across the story in a good, succinct amount of time, so it's not just all 3 hours long exposition dump.
Right.
You're going to have to cut corners somewhere.
Gonna have to do it.
And I think you either cut the corner of making it so broad and high concept, or cut the corner of making it a feature.
Yeah.
Make it a longer thing.
Have to.
It's
the only way.
Like, imagine being like, walking around with George Lucas's brain or J.K. Rowling's brain.
Yeah.
And they're told, okay, you can only fit Harry Potter into one movie.
They wouldn't do it.
It would be impossible.
Yeah, they couldn't.
It would be impossible.
Impossible. That's why mythology shapes cultures.
Yeah, and what's funny is those myths are rather short.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they're little moments within a larger thing.
Yeah, the bigger scope.
That's the thing. Like this was the world. This movie. You know what I mean? Like his story seemed to have something to do with everything that existed in this post-apocalyptic world. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, again,
it's not even post-apocalyptic. It's like
it's just like, what if
slightly dystopic?
Yeah, it's
just
like, what
slightly.
if climate change just got heated up 50 degrees,
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then it's like that whole deal at the end where there's just it's like the end of Joker, where there's all these street riots and everything because that one guy gets found out, and I'm just like,
why do they care? Why does anybody care about this large?
It wasn't made clear enough that there's an oligarchy, total wealth disparity in this world. There's no indication of that.
But all the guy did was he killed the woman who had his father's child, and they tried to kill the child, right?
Yeah.
And then they put the child out there, and it's like, did everybody know that woman? Because
I think it was more that he was trying to get away with all these series of murders, and he thought
so he had done a series of murders, and then he got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Because that whole deal with the St. John guy, he wanted him off the table too.
Right.
So it was just kind of convenient to us that Tandy Newton showed up, but that was kind of set up.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess it makes more sense upon hindsight.
But I think it was more just the fact that he was trying to murder these people, bury it, get it over with, so that he could retain his wealth.
Yes.
Rather than have to split it up with a kid.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at was that happens immediately after Hugh Jackman walks out of that building from talking to the guy, and then he's walking down the street while people are throwing Molotovs, getting into combat with the police, and then he ends up back at his it looks like a theater. It's not even like a lab, it's a theater. It's like a Phantom of the Opera style kind of theater that he has this cradle in.
Yeah.
And he gets back there, they're loading Cliff out of there, he's losing his shit, and then he's just like, I didn't have to, I didn't have to serve all that much because of my role in exposing this conspiracy.
Okay.
But I still had to serve some kind of punishment. So she allowed him to go and just be in his own memories forever.
Yeah.
In
his
own
happy
theater.
memories.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, so you're not allowed to live a life going forward.
So you have to do what you were doing already.
You get to go be where you wanted to be this whole movie. Because if he had his way and Tandy Newton wasn't there, he would have gone the whole rest of the movie happy as a clam to just be in that cradle reliving those memories with May.
Yep.
He would have just been super, he got what he wanted in the end.
It was just so, the path to get there was so dense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
He could have just fired her and stayed there forever.
Yeah, that's all he had to do. Literally all he had to do.
Yeah.
No.
What does this have on IMDb? I saw like a 5.9.
5.9.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So it's almost a 6. Yeah, which I would say 6.
I consider 6 as watchable.
Yeah, a 6 is a movie. You know what I mean? Like anything below that is a joke. This is a movie for sure, but like again, I need to feel something, you know? And then to the degrees of how I feel it, take you from 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with what happened with Westworld Season 3 for me. I just stopped feeling. I just stopped feeling because, like, I felt the most compelling characters were Anthony Hopkins, Bernard, Jeffrey Wright.
Bernard.
Not so much Doris.
Yeah. Who's the protagonist of the show.
Not so much Evan Rachel Wood. Honestly, from her story, James Marsden's journey was more interesting because she was wired with all the stuff that Bernard put into her head.
Right.
So she had this like jaded like goal pointed. Yeah. James Marsden's reality is coming crashing down around him. And he relives all of his many, many, many deaths.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God.
Yep. It's real. Thandy's great in it.
She's great, but we're her, I guess, AI at this point, because she doesn't have her body anymore, because I've only started season 3.
Oh, that's right.
I haven't finished it.
No, you gotta get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It picks up.
It's fun. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good time. I think season 2 is the funnest.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different show when they're out of the park.
Yeah. I think it's gonna keep like every season's kind of its own thing. Yeah.
That is kind of true. Each season is kind of its own thing.
Right, but with the same characters and a continued story, but the story gets so big. And so, see, I'm a huge Westworld fan. I love all of Westworld. I think that they're Lisa and Jonathan and JJ are doing great stuff over there with that. And again, the JJ, and that's what's good about it being a show is like, I don't know, this whole Hugh Jackman's whole story was fighting about this woman. Like you said, we don't learn anything about him. We don't care about him. He's a vehicle to learn about her, who we already don't really care about that much.
Yeah.
Right? And there's this heist of this thing that we understand, but like, I don't know. They were just deleting all the memories of her and her kid. They were just trying to wipe those out, get rid of them. Again, it all makes sense. It all lines up, but I'm just kind of like, was this the path to go down?
I didn't even pick up on that. That's why they were trying to get into the vault at all, was to get the memories of that woman at all and just erase it.
Yeah, again, it's just, gotta feel like with Dolores even. Like, Dolores drives me crazy, and like, she's not my favorite character when she's on screen, but like, she makes me feel something. She freaks me out. You know what I mean? She's like, she means what she fucking says in that show for sure. Thandy's amazing because her journey is interesting and getting to her daughter and like overcoming all these obstacles. Like you said, James Marsden is interesting because he literally his world is coming crashing down. Ed Harris is fascinating, and he gets more and more interesting every season, I think, right? Because one, it's simple, but it's complex, right? This movie was complex, but it was simple. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem. Is it was this giant puzzle that you did, and you were like, wait, this is for fourth graders? I mean, I thought this was a 1,000-piece puzzle. I thought it was like getting into something here. You know what I mean? Like, no? You know, Hugh Jackman on the box.
No, it's a 4-piece puzzle with a picture of a 1,000-piece puzzle on it.
That's exactly what it is.
Corner, 1,000-piece puzzle.
You're like, this is not what was on the box.
Yeah, this is not what I was advertised.
This is not what I ordered.
Yeah. So, okay. This actually is kind of a good little transition-roni. I saw on IMDb that she and Jonathan Nolan are producing and writing a film adaptation of Fallout, which, conveniently enough, or coincidentally enough, I just beat the main story of it.
They've been filming that, actually. Yeah. It's got quite the cast.
Yeah.
It's got like Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, that's Borderlands.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
That's with Eli Roth, and he's got like Jack Black, Kevin Hart.
Might be. Yeah, that looks cool. Bobby Lee's in that movie. Happy birthday, Bobby Lee.
Happy birthday, Bobby Lee. 50 years old?
50 years old.
Outrageous.
Man. Absolutely.
But what I was getting at with Fallout is I do not know how they're going to pull that off as a movie, because all those Bethesda games are a very, very intimate experience for you as the player, where you're taking your character and making all these decisions yourself.
Right.
You know? So, like, the ending of the main story... What'd you send me?
What?
What'd you just send me? Bobby Lee again, dude? Why? Why? Why do you gotta interrupt me when I'm on a roll?
Happy birthday, Bobby Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the day this comes out, it won't be his birthday, but
Whatever. I don't think we need to tell everybody every episode that we're on a new schedule. And these aren't exactly recorded the day of airing. But my point is like, even Borderlands 2, which was the only one that I played, really, because Borderlands 1 didn't even have much of a story. But, like, that stuff, it was okay because they gave you characters to play as yourself. This one, you make it yourself.
Right.
So I have no clue how they're going to pull off a Fallout movie, but it'll probably look
we
cool.
should do it as a show.
They should, because there's a lot of lore in that game. And a lot of lore. Because I've played all 3 of the newest ones since 2008. And, I mean, there's just so much depth to all these stories. And the thing that's crazy about the game is that you have to make hard decisions.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, Jonathan and Lisa, what are you going to do to bring a Bethesda game to life when that whole thing is completely left up to choice? You know?
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to see.
Yeah.
What do you give this movie out of 10, Sam?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. 6 feels right.
Because if I go to 6.5 or 7, I don't think so. I feel like 7, whenever I see that on IMDb, it's solid. A solid movie. This one's aight.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I don't regret watching it. You know?
Okay, Jack, you said 6 makes it a movie. 5 makes it a movie. Actually, 5.5 makes a movie. 6 makes it watchable movie.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that.
6.5, almost there.
Yeah.
7, solid. 7.5, impressive. 8, great. 9, 10, just bonkers good.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
That makes
so
sense.
it's like, I agree with the Marvel movie ratings that the audience has given, even though I gave all of them a 10.
Well, they have a cheat code with us, you know.
Yeah.
They'll get 10s, and we're just biased, and that's
but
how
then
it's
you
going to
go
be.
and you look through the entire MCU, and it's like 7s across the board.
all the way through.
Except for like a couple, like Iron Man 2, 3, and Thor: Dark World, and Thor 1 even. Those are 6s.
Yeah.
You know, but those are the worst of the bunch.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky to make a movie, man. It's very hard.
Black Widow's a 6.7.
Yeah.
But I think for all the reasons we discussed on our episode as to why we didn't enjoy it as much as we could have enjoyed it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you could have kept that movie 100% the same, released it at a different time, and we would have been like, noise.
Yeah.
Now, releasing it after Endgame, big mistake.
Marvel bumbled it on that one.
Fumble the bumble.
Yeah, it was bad. No, not bad. The movie wasn't bad.
Yeah,
but
so we give this one a 6. 6-a-roni.
yeah, 6-a-roni. Hey, Lisa Joy, keep making movies.
Yeah.
I'm a C.
Yeah.
I'm a C.
Also, she's 50.
Really?
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, born in 72, dog.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't look like it.
Not even.
Smoke show.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. Again, just keep it simple. Like Inception, right? World building, like we were talking about. The thing about Inception is, it's all the exposition, but all you're talking about is the technology of it, right? And a little bit about Leo's backstory, but you're getting that through authentic pieces of story. And this, it's a lot about the memory machine, and then a lot about her, and then a lot about like the crime in this world, and then the war a little bit, and then a little bit about her, and then a little bit about the machine, and then a little bit about Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa!
Well, it's what Prometheus and Covenant have been doing wrong, where it's like Prometheus was looking way macro, where it's like, we can be in this Weyland-Yutani alien universe and not have to deal with the xenomorphs, which I admire, but it's a feature-length film of a huge franchise.
Right.
If he decided to make a Prometheus TV series where they explore what that universe is like Raised by Wolves. He went ahead and made Raised by Wolves, no problem. That could have been the Prometheus show because it's all about androids, and that's what he wanted to do.
We need to get more androids in your life, Sam.
Oh, all more androids, dude. That's why I blew up the Institute for the second time, is because I really like androids. Yeah.
Sam's making AVP, androids versus
People. Okay, so for example, my project, like, you know, whenever I talk to you about stuff, it's like there's stuff that I want to explore that's in a broader picture, but it's not important for this story. This story is just like, you know, get the engine started.
Right.
That other stuff can be explored later in other stuff, but if it doesn't move past this one, nobody's gonna feel cheated by this one, or like I set up too many things that's not going to pay off. Right. Just set up enough information, enough background from these people that's all you need to get the story going.
Yep.
So it's just such a delicate line to walk, and I think sci-fi is the one that has this burden as a genre, which is kind of hilarious because that's like primarily what you and I write.
Yeah, it's
science fiction, like it's what we love.
It's overworked.
Science fiction.
We're trying to steer the ship right.
But it's such a delicate balance. I mean, it's like making a good horror movie or a good comedy. It's such a delicate thing that you gotta make sure everything is airtight and firing on all the right cylinders in all the right directions, so that nobody leaves being like, I wasted a good amount of time with that movie.
Yeah. Because
that's been my problem with big comedies in movie theaters is there's going to hit that point where there's going to be a low beat and there's like going to be at least 20-25 minutes of no jokes.
Right.
You know, because the characters are in the dark night of the soul, so to speak. And I'm just like, yeah, every time I watch one of those, I'm going to feel like it's a goddamn waste of 20 minutes. Like I could have just watched 3 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Sure. You got unlimited lulls.
Yeah. And I think that's why comedy works better on sitcom or television, is because it's so hard to sustain. That's why you don't see stand-up comics doing a lot, like, unless they're crazy like Dave Chappelle, who can go up there and be hilarious for 2 hours straight. But that's why most comedians are just like, hour.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to keep people, like...
Well, why don't you talk to Seth Rogen?
Huh?
Why don't you talk to Seth Rogen? Huh? He makes big budget comedies all the time.
Well, I mean, when was the last time he did one of those, Jack?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. It has.
When was the last movie?
The last big one that he made himself, him and Evan, was The Interview. That's 7 years ago, Jack.
Damn, yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
See, times are just a-changing, you know? Yeah. And, like, that's, like, this and Tenet kind of show me that, like, you know, things really are changing because you can't just... But they also, you know...
Well, yeah.
Like they're chasing something that has been done, and if you chase it runs, if you stay it comes. Just think of something interesting and like create a world that you would want to be in almost. You know what I mean? That would be so interesting that you would want to engross yourself in the reality, right? It's hard to do, but that's the kind of stuff that'll get audiences, you know, giving you, you know, hype and praise and stuff like that. Is they'll come out of it, they'll be like, oh shit, like that's a new part of my life right there, was seeing that movie. Versus this, I was like, we had to watch it for the podcast, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and that's how I came into it, and that's how I left it.
That's
you know?
a good way to put it. It's like, yeah.
Shawshank, I was so happy to have watched that, you know? Like this, I was like, well, like I said, we got a lot to talk about, you know? So.
Yeah, and then you're talking a 9.3 versus a 5.9 movie. So the last big movie that Seth Rogen starred in was Long Shot in 2019. But he didn't write it or direct it. He just produced it and acted in it. But that's really what he's been doing since really Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Because, it was The Interview the night before and Sausage Party.
Yep.
Those were the last 3, like, big Rogen movies. Neighbors 2, to a lesser extent, because it's not all Seth.
Yeah, it really was. And 2016 was like the end of the Rogen comedies.
But then again, you think about it too. He's been producing. He produced Disaster Artist, Blockers, Game Over Man. He did that Hilarity Chit for Charity. He did Future Man, Good Boys, Preacher, American Pickle, Console Wars, The Boys, Invincible, and Black Monday. That's a lot of work still.
Seth Rogen's done, dude.
No, you know what he's doing? He's like, I'm gonna Bring up the next generation.
And I mean, hey,
bring them up.
That's how it works, man. That's why podcasts are awesome. You know what I mean? That's why that culture's great. Stand up nowadays.
And I think that's the direction comedy's going to go. It's more of a socialized experience than I think film allows anymore. And I think it's just also the dynamic of how we absorb entertainment too has made it so difficult.
Right.
So it's like, you know, when
we know there's better ways to do it.
Yeah.
know?
And when you and I started coming up with ideas for like feature length films, it was because we wanted to go feature because we were so inspired by Seth Rogen and the Coen brothers and stuff. And it worked for their time, but now when we're going, it's like when we're thinking about the features we want to make, we either want to make like serious, like action something, and you know, sprinkle in the humor, like, you know, James Gunn Marvel style. You know, like you can have jokes in it, but it doesn't have it. I don't think there's room for just comedy,
Right.
when like
again, you're making a box as you say this, and like that's exactly what it is. Comedy can't be in a box anymore. You know what I mean? Like all the ideas that work on that have been done, right? The Dodgeballs, the Tropic Thunders, the Apatow movies, like they're all definitely comedies through and through. But even like Apatow movies, they have a story to them, right?
They feel a half hour too long a lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
it's that fucking third act Dark Night of the Soul period that I'm talking about.
Exactly. Versus if it's just, you know, it's like a TV show that just every episode, like Sunny's great. You just have immortal characters and the rules of that world. You know what I mean? And it expands.
Think about Love, for example. That was a great show, limited run, 4 seasons, and I mean, each episode had its fair share of hilarity and drama, and each of them, because they were in that, you know, delivery system, was easier to take down.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
And that's the thing, like sometimes, or a lot of times you'll watch something that's like coming out and people are like, oh man, this fucking sucks. I want to binge it. I want to watch it all. You know, like I hear it a lot with Ted Lasso. It's the thing I've heard the most is people just like, oh man, they're releasing it every week. I just want to watch it all. And I'm like, but the fact that you're saying that that's the feeling, you know what I mean? That's the feeling that it means something.
Yeah.
The fact that you want more of it, you're angry that there's not more to eat. There's not more cake to eat. You know what I mean? This movie, I have to watch it in 3 different sittings.
Jack, what if we wrote Reminiscence as a comedy? How would we do
as
that?
a comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, we could do a lot of stuff with that. Oh, geez. I don't know. Put me on the spot here a little bit.
Hugh Jackman, now a stoner.
Yeah, he's a stoner.
Now he's a stoner
He's
trying
to get his memory
remember.
back.
He's
yeah,
trying
there
to
we go.
remember, all right?
Yeah, exactly. But he keeps getting distracted by the munchies.
Yeah, no, so it's like people are trying to distract him. You know, he's trying to get all sorts of different memory jogging treatments. You know, he gets led into like a ketamine problem,
That's
you know,
right.
a mushroom problem. None of them are helping.
No, they all make him forget more and more, and then he realizes that it doesn't matter. The past doesn't matter. It's just about living in the present.
Yeah,
Boom.
and also that you know, when he's smoking the weed, he realizes that's how he can remember. Is when he smokes the weed, he remembers what he was remembering when he was high.
I mean,
but they get rid of the weed. They keep him away from the weed.
That's why they can't have it, because if they give it to him, then he's super powered.
Yeah, and instead of a cradle, it's just a big old hot box.
That's a movie I'd want to see.
Well, yeah, see, like a high concept sci-fi comedy would be real interesting to challenge, like, you know, tackle. Because the one that I can think of last that did a pretty good job, Galaxy Quest did a pretty good job. You ever see that one?
Uh-huh.
That was great. Galaxy Quest was great. I don't know. Because, I mean, The Orville is a TV show. And Rogan hasn't really dipped into sci-fi outside of Future Man.
Yeah, not really. They wrote the Watch.
They did write The Watch. That movie was all right. That one did keep the jokes going the entire time.
When you got Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller and Jonah Hill, you know, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ben Stiller, he was a guest star on Another Period.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, him and Jack Black, 2 different episodes.
Ben's the man.
Yep.
Benny Stills.
But Reminiscence, take it or leave it. That's the movie that we feel. I mean, if you want to watch it for this podcast, go right ahead. If you don't want to watch it and you just want to go, I'm glad I dodged that bullet, then just listen to the podcast and just be like, well, yeah.
That's really all you need.
Sounds wackadoodles.
Yeah. Sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing was her telling the clue of where Freddy the kid was at this like white, like stilted house or whatever the fuck. When did she mention that before? Because when Hugh said that, he was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
or were they there? Or
yeah,
what?
she mentions it at some point. She says like, "Oh, what happened?" It was like some people found. She like, I don't remember exactly what happens, but she ended up finding it, and the lady was standing up there smoking a cigarette, and I think like helped her out, and so that was like a safe haven for her. Yeah, I know. I also. The weird attempt at comedy there a little bit when they would cut back to Cliff, like listening to I don't know if it was
when he realizes that she's talking to Nick, or...
right? Well, before that, like while he's like listening to it and like thinking like, is this me? Is that? But like again, this is the climax of the movie. This is the thing.
Oh yeah, no, the climax of this movie is him watching Cliff's memories and then talking shit to him into the microphone. He's just talking wild shit into his ear.
Hugh Jackman.
Huge jacked man.
That's the man.
And so otherwise, go check out bestburgerscantina.com. Lots of cool stuff on there. Keep an eye out for upcoming DMT projects, I got the YouTube back up and running better and, at least functional. DMT Studios. Email us at dmtpcast@gmail.com or hit us up on the IG at dmtpcast. And I'm Sammy B_DMT, Silverback Sasquatch 1162. Thanks for thinking of me. And take it sleazy, Mary McCheesy.
Love you guys.